Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Should I do what my husband does? Uh, I am happy to be here. I arrived back in Canada yesterday and I am rested and ready for real life conversations. And I'm so happy you could be here. So please share out the broadcast. We've got such a great, powerful woman show. Look, there's Daniel Nurse already. Hello. And so we are going to be talking today to a wonderful woman, and she lives in my city, and I get to see her. And she's been to my house, and she's a dear friend. And so we're going to talk about her story, and I want you to listen carefully. And Holy Spirit's just going to come in and share this out to people. Um, as we go along, you're gonna see that there's people that need to hear this message. They need to be encouraged, and so I am gonna bring her in right now. There we
Good
are.
evening.
Hello, hello, beautiful.
Thank you, Lady D. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I'm excited. How are you?
Oh, I'm excited too. I'm so glad that you could um, join me today, and listen to him in the background.
Okay,
It's
my
real
God.
life. She's
It's
a
real
real
life.
mom. She's a real
Yes.
mom. And so we're gonna start. So talk about a little bit. This is Tamlyn Stuurman, and she is originally from South Africa, and you will hear that in her beautiful accent. And it's kind of hard to hide. And so I want you to just share your story. You've gone through quite the journey, and in your young life, really. You're young, and yet you've had quite the life experience already. And that's what I want you to be able to share with people. And take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me on Real Life Conversations. This is such an honor and such a privilege to be here. I take it not lightly, and I'm
Aw.
so thankful to be able to share my story tonight. So to all those watching tonight from afar and from here, God bless you all. My name is Tamlyn, as Lady D has mentioned. I am originally from South Africa, came in 2015 to Canada, and the journey coming to Canada has not been easy. Um, I know God has something in store for us in Canada. I never thought in my wildest mind I would end up in Canada. My heart's desire was always to go to the UK, New Zealand, Australia, never Canada.
Wow.
Never knew about Canada until a missionary group came, and and they've been to our church so many times, but never had any interest. And just with conversations and things, change. We took the leap of faith and we came. And we would have been married at that time probably 7 or 8 years before we left. So maybe no, like at least 5 years. Sorry, 5 years before we left. And so we came to Ontario, ministered there, served there for 3 years, and then God called us to Calgary. And that's where a lot of our journey and our testimony, really comes together and flourish in so many ways. And so, with that being said, when we came to Canada, my mindset was always, it's a first world country. They must have all the answers that South Africa people perhaps don't have. Right.
Yeah,
And so when you
right.
think when you're coming from a third world country, okay, there's more solutions here and there's more options here. And so with that being said, when we left South Africa, when we got married or before we got married, we found out, that we won't be able to actually conceive. And so we made that
Who
decision.
told you
Those
that?
that this is the doctor. So we went just to check ourselves out, to have no surprises when you get married. Although you still trust God, you went to go do your due diligence. And so me being me, for those that know me, very straightforward, upfront, and I'm like, okay, Steve, you're not being no blindsided. This
Yeah,
is this is on the table. We don't know. We still trust the God that can do the impossible, right? And
yeah,
so not being able to have, children back home, It was a little bit harder because on my end of the family, we have a lot of grandchildren. So it's not so bad on my side, but on his side, there's no grandchildren. It's like
Right.
it's very evident, right? And so you feel a little bit of pressure, concern, even though his family never made us feel like that. But as a human being, as a wife, you feel like that. And
Yeah.
so with that being said, we didn't give up. We just kept it in the back of our mind. We don't know if this will ever happen, and we talked about adoption, and I was always like, no, we will never do adoption, not for me. I can't see that. I'm just going to trust God, whatever he's doing. So here we come to Canada, settled in for 2 years, and I worked in this great organization that had very good benefits. And one of the benefits was um, fertility. And I was like, okay, maybe we should just go check out and just go see, what is the options. I'm in Canada. This is
Right.
probably, first world, there will be more things. And so I go and they do multiple tests for 2 weeks. And the doctors, they give you so much hope
Yeah.
until you're in the process. Then you realize, okay, this is scary, this is overwhelming. And I remember the doctor, he said, I can create life. And myself and my husband, we looked at each other and we said, you don't create life. God has given you the wisdom to put things together, but you're
The
not the
doctor
one
said
that.
that? The
Yes.
doctor said he hates life.
No, he said he can
Okay.
create life.
Can't
And I'm
create
like,
life.
you don't have the power to create life. And so while he's saying this to us, we're saying back to him, you don't have the power to create life. And he says, so why are you in my office? So I said, God has given you the expertise,
Yeah.
and so I'm coming with that mindset. And so I know I'm already getting resistance from someone that don't believe in God. And I'm saying, God, our Lord, you can use whoever you want to use. But if this is the doctor that you're going to use, then allow this to happen in the way that you are being manifested. And so we went through the journey of all the testing, and he says to us, he says, your journey of conceiving is hard. Your journey, your ovaries are, your fallopian tubes are closed. You have PCOS, which is the polycystic ovarian syndrome. Your womb is really in a different shape, and so many things that he's like, it's just counting against you. So I wouldn't actually encourage you to get pregnant. And
Wow.
I said again, but it's, life is not in your hands. I said, like, we're going to do what we have to do. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I have this insurance that I've never seen before. I don't know, being back home and inquiring about fertility was so expensive. I couldn't afford it. Myself and Steve had very like good jobs, but that was not going to be an option for us because it would just cost us so much.
Right.
And so we decided we're not going to do it. And so when I came here and I got that benefit, I was like, I'm going to take hold of it. And so again, it looks insignificant to someone else, but to me, like, God is showing up in a way that I've never seen him showing up before. And I'm
Yeah.
like, even if this is insurance, Jesus, thank you so much for just the inquiry
Right.
information of it.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, we went back for 2 weeks. I had to go in every morning, 6 o'clock, on time blood work. They test. You run for an hour. They run your blood work the whole time, every week. And so I went faithfully every week, trusting God that God will do a miracle.
Ah,
And at the end, he he said to me, when we finally tested everything, he said, okay, so we're gonna take you on this try medication, and we're gonna activate, because we don't know when you ovulate. We don't know when you get your menstrual cycle, because it's everywhere. I would get it for a year, then it would go away for a year. It would come
wow.
for 6 months, it would go for 3 months. And so this it's in between, so there's no record that you can really truly follow. And he said, okay, we're gonna first, just make sure, okay, let's just regulate your cycle. And we
Okay.
tried, nothing happened. And then he said, okay, we're gonna do fertility medications. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. And if that doesn't work, he says, then we will do IVF. So we have
Okay.
this plan, in place. And so we come at the end, and we decide, okay, we're ready. We went through a period of fasting for 40 days, and we really tested God, and we said, Lord, we are fasting, we are believing for a breakthrough, and that was in 2018, um, January. We go through that fasting, and in February, I take my leap of faith, and I'm like, I'm back at this doctor's office. I
Okay.
need answers. The God
Yeah.
that I serve will answer me today. And so
Yeah.
I go back and I said, okay, I'm ready to do this. And he gives me the medication, and I take the medication faithfully. And so the medication helps you ovulate. And so they track first world countries. I say you don't have issues of a third world country. I have to download an app. I have to watch what I eat. I have to have intercourse at a certain time. I
Wow.
have to take this medication at a certain time. And the funny thing, you're working, so your phone would go off, which is so funny. It's like, it's time for intercourse. And I'm like, no, I'm busy working. The devil is a liar. So it's just amazing how things work and technology and how God just bring all those things together. Honestly, and at our first try, we actually conceived. And I remember being speechless, not even, I didn't even do the thing that normal people that might do it, out of excitement, maybe want to, buy a pregnancy test. In the back
Mhm.
of my mind, I still hear this little voice that you will never be able to conceive, right? And so you almost have this doubt, God can do it, but will he really do it?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that was in my mind. And so I remember it was an Easter weekend, the first Easter weekend in April of 2018. And the nurse called me and she said, Tamlyn, are you standing? Are you sitting? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty just laying down, just taking it. She's like, how do you feel? I said, I'm okay. I'm just missing family. It's Easter. It's different. We make a big thing about it back home. And she said, well, I just want to say to you, congratulations. And I'm like, for what? She's like, you're pregnant. And I'm like, wait, how do you guys even see these things? And so, with all the blood work that you've been doing,
Oh,
they've been
yes.
keeping track, right? And
Right.
so at a
Right.
certain time, they're able to see that this, there's this
Like from the
little
blood work. Yeah.
embryo that's growing somewhere. And I'm just like, okay. I said, okay, uh, thank you. But, being really confused and overwhelmed, shocked, like, okay, God, like, maybe I should now really go and buy a pregnancy test. And so I go and buy a pregnancy test in the evening, and I say to Steve, oh, you're going to be a dad, I guess. We're going to, like, so just like, by the way, I'm saying it to him, and he's like, wait, what? So I think it's just the overwhelming news that you
Yes.
sometimes you don't, like, you don't even know how to hear, the good news, because you're
Right.
so confined in just hearing always negative news. And if there was never a positive, response to something so precious, then it's
Mhm.
it's it's having that unbelief for a moment, but still trusting God in your deep, in your heart. And so, with that being said, yes, at the same time, I just got a job, a permanent job. And at the same time, God shifts us to Calgary. And I
Wow.
said, Jesus, do I leave a $70,000 job from Toronto to come to Calgary for, I don't know what you have to offer on the table?
Wow.
And my faith is strong, and I know that God will do what he said that he will do. And,
Right.
and we moved and we came here. And, it's been a hard journey at that time.
Right.
So much stress, so much things happening, so much uncertainty. And within a month of being 18 weeks here in Calgary, we lost a baby. And I'll never forget. Oh my goodness, that night. I remember the night before we lost the baby. I was up and I was just Googling, and I said, I'm getting these pains, and not knowing I was in labor. And
Oh,
friends of ours said, oh, at this time, your womb grows and sometimes there's a little bit of pain. And and not having immigration like status yet, waiting on your PR. You have
okay.
no medical support, everything you have to
Right.
pay out of pocket. It's so different from Ontario. And so all of those things go through your mind. Do you go to the hospital? There's a 4,000 bill coming.
Oh,
Things
wow.
look so impossible. And so the morning off, I woke up. I think I slept at least for an hour or two when I woke up, and as I got up, I felt like this gashing coming through. And in my mind, I'm thinking, my
Jesus.
water just broke. And I look and I said to Steve, I said, my water broke. I don't like, let's just get to the hospital. And I went to my doctor's office first just to check if everything was okay. And I got to him and his face changed. And it's very hard for an African person to really have a straight face when there is like an emergency. We speak through our eyes,
Yeah.
and so he's looking at me, and I'm like, doctor, and he's like, just get to the emergency right now. And so I
Wow.
know deep down, something is wrong. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe this baby's coming early. We're not sure. And so we got to emergencies and they rush me and they're like, emergency, like really take in a room, like it's happening. And I'm like, what is happening? And the doctor came in, he's like, I'm so sorry to let you know, but you're heading for a miscarriage. Now, in all honesty, at that point in time, I'm not illiterate, but I did not know what miscarriage meant at all. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
thinking, oh, we're going to get this baby early. And there's going to be a long journey in the hospital.
Okay. So
I have
it's a
no
different
clue.
term you hadn't heard of.
Never heard this term.
Oh my god.
And I'm just thinking, okay, the journey's ready. And I'm thinking, I can take the pain. It's very painful. The nurses, there's two nurses in the room. The doctors came back and forth and they're like, okay, Tamlyn, like, can we give you morphine? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm sweating. And the verse that kept coming to my mind laying on the bed was, though he slay me, yet will I trust him.
Mm,
And I remember Steve looking at me like, almost like helpless, like there's nothing that he can do. I just said to
yeah.
him, get everyone to pray right now. Just get my
Yes.
parents to pray, get those that you know to pray.
But you were
Like
new in Calgary too,
we
going
were
through that.
new in Calgary. We just came to shepherd a church here. So within a month of
Ah,
going through, rebuilding a church and then having a loss, I was like, God, you up to something.
oh.
And so on that day, we I gave I at the end when the baby didn't want to come, they asked and they sucked the baby out. And I said, no, no, no. I said, no, Jesus, no, no. You did not bring me this far. If this is the only child that you're allowing me to carry, then you are gonna allow me to give birth to this child.
Oh,
And
Tamlyn.
I remember the doctor came in and he brought the scan and he couldn't see the child. And he looked at my face and I looked at Steve and I said, something wants to come out. Can I push? And the doctor said, go ahead, push. And no one was there to catch the child, but the child came out. And I
Oh.
remember,
Oh
screaming
god.
because then I knew, when you know this is the end,
Yeah.
there's no baby screaming. You don't know what's at the bottom. You know there's a baby, but you just don't know how big, how small, how does this
Yeah.
little person look. And I have never screamed like that.
Oh, honey.
Oh my goodness. I have never screamed like that. And that day we gave birth to Elijah Joel Sturman, a little boy, fully formed in my hand. And I thank God for that journey. It was the most difficult, real, painful journey. And one of the things that I don't often share is that as I grew up, I always asked the Lord, I said, don't ever let me go through a journey of losing a child. That was always my desire. Let me never lose a child. Let me never lose someone that that I'm not that I'm too young to understand, their presence having to leave me. Let me be at the age, God, where if you take my parents home, if you take my grandma, that I've already settled in and I'm asking the simplest things, God. Don't make it difficult for me. I love you so much. Let us just work together on this
Let's
agreement.
work
And it
together.
was always my prayer request, never take me to this because I don't think I would ever be able to handle that. And the reason why I ask that is because my father has been in the funeral business for so many years. And so
Oh
I've
wow.
been with him and I've seen, parents having to bury little babies. And I thought to myself, I could never do that. I could
Wow.
never do that. But the strength that you build,
Yeah, you know what, Tamlin, it's you know, when people say, "Oh, I can't imagine,"
mhm,
you know, you don't have to imagine because when the time comes,
yes,
God's going to give you that strength. We don't
true.
want to live in the fear and the worry and what if, but that's where God was preparing you, but you didn't
Amen.
know that you were being prepared because you had the faith.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And God's way of preparing us is sometimes really hard. It's not in the way that we are asking Him,
Yeah.
because I, in my own strength, thought this is something I could never handle. But I
Hmm.
also knew that I know that God will take me through it. Like,
Yes.
that's my faith. I know He's going to
Yes.
take me through it. I just don't know how the other side looks. And
Yes.
where He has me now is in a crushing moment. And I
Yes.
don't know how I'm going to be able to encourage someone else, because in my mind, I'm thinking tonight is prayer meeting. It's a Friday night. This happened in the Friday morning. We got to get to church tonight,
Did you
and
go?
we did. It's funny because at that point in time, I my faith my faith is ridiculous. And it's not a thing of showcasing I'm strong, but it's knowing in His presence I can be real and I can be open and I
Yeah.
can, being in my corner, I'm giving the enemy the space to talk as much as he can. But
Yeah.
when I'm with believers, I am in a space of my
Right.
ears are being attentive to Him.
Amen. Yeah.
And so I think that's sometimes everybody's journey going to church is different. For me, I just take everything in that I know that God has in store.
Right.
And so we came home on that day with no baby, and that was so devastating. Getting home knowing that you've just carried a baby for 18 months, and you come home and you
For
know
18
that
weeks.
there's no more.
Yeah.
Walking through that door, I think that was the broken part for me. Is that
Yeah.
walking into, yeah, oh Jesus, then you are thinking to yourself, okay, the room that you have in mind is no longer going to be the room.
Yeah.
And you got to pick yourself right back up, because God is going to fulfill His promise. If He's able to open up your womb, then I know He's able to do it, but I'm not seeing it right now. I'm
Yeah.
just confining in my grief, and I'm just so overwhelmed in my grief. And that night, we just lay down. We came, we showered, we lay down. And at 6 o'clock, Steve came and he said, "Are you going to church?" And I'm like, "For sure, I'm going to church. If it
Yeah.
hasn't been for God on my side, then I don't know where I would be."
Right.
So we went to church, we worshiped, we prayed, we ministered. We didn't share anything with the church till after the church,
Okay.
after the service was done. And the members at that time and the leaders were in total shock, because our faces didn't show the grief.
Yeah.
Our smiles were still there, our encouragement was still there. When I'm thinking about people that I have to encourage, and I'm thinking, if you just know the brokenness inside of me, having to encourage you, it's like leading while bleeding. But I
Yes.
gotta keep going, I gotta keep moving. um you know then you start to realize, I know God has given me a strength that I cannot even comprehend to share.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I personally didn't like, is that people sometimes forget how to grieve with you. They
Mm.
sometimes, spiritualize grief
Yeah.
so much that my ears started to shut on when people truly came to sympathize.
Mm.
People will
Mm.
come and say, God will bless you again with one. And I'm just like, that's not the
Mm.
words I want to hear right now.
That's right.
you
That's
know
right.
i
Yeah.
i know the God that I serve. Like, you don't have to come and let me know about that.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn, even in those moments in time, okay, Tamlin, what have you said before that maybe has
Oh,
filtered?
exactly.
And so you start looking back and you're like, okay, have I done the same? Have I said things when people were in grief that I shouldn't have said? And so I've really made those life lessons for myself more personal, to be like,
Yes.
okay, this is not something that you will do if you ever have to encourage someone again in the moment of grief.
Well, it's
And so that's
listening. It's
been,
listening to what you should say. Ask
yes,
the Holy Spirit to show you what to say, what to do,
right,
because we don't know, and it,
right,
it, it is. There's so many things I know that people have said, and I'm like, it's not what I need to hear. But then,
right.
it's listening to God. It's like, hey, God, just comfort me. God can be your comforter,
Yep,
but we always depend on other people.
true.
But yeah, wow,
So true, so true. So they truly came a time when I didn't want to talk anymore. When someone asked me to share my testimony, I'm like, nope, I'm not sharing my testimony anymore. I'm done. I want to close this chapter. And I wrote a book, you know, and I said to myself, if anybody ever wants to know my story, read
yeah,
the book.
yeah,
And I just didn't want to talk anymore. I was just so done. I was like, I have no more words. This is my first child. that I'm not able to, walk down the aisle when they get married. I don't know what their future look like. I don't know
Mm.
how, what, all the things that I like as a mom, I just thought there is no way. And so, with that being said, we continue with ministry, we continue serving God. It was really hard on our marriage. It was really hard because, we both, put our focus into ministry, but was actually drifting apart because grief was so evident in our lives that we just
Mm.
didn't know how to comfort one another anymore. And it
Yeah.
was, you figure yourself out, I figure myself out, and, whatever God wants to do, let Him do it.
Right.
And in 2020, we decided, okay, let's just get back to ourselves. And actually, no, sorry, it was in 2019 in November that myself and Steve was really on the verge. Like, we weren't sure if our marriage would actually stand.
Yeah.
And we seek counseling. And I remember, asking the Lord, and I said, Father, like, I'm not going to let the enemy, steal my marriage. I'm not
Right.
perfect. My husband isn't perfect. I know that we are in deep, deep grief,
Yeah.
and we
Okay.
don't know who to talk to because it's a different grief from many things. And I said, I just need you to do for me two things. If you do these two things and you answer it in the way that I want it to be answered, I know that you're about to like really sustain us. God answered me in 2019 in December. He answered me, and I knew the next ones would be close. And in February of 2020, he confirmed the next one. And when we had left that church in 2020 of February, I knew that God is shifting because He's answered the two things that I specifically asked.
Okay.
And we took a time of just resting. The pandemic hit.
Right.
We asked God, take this time to heal us and let
Yeah.
us see, if there's an opportunity again to try again. And
Right.
so at this point in time, I'm high risk. The doctors that I'm seeing, everyone is together. Whole team of people are working on my case. So I go back to my gynae and she says, okay, we're going to try this. We have no true evidence of what happened in the first, lost. They have
Right.
no reason for it. They have nothing for it. We're going to try and see, can we do a preventative cyclage, which is
Okay.
where they put this, I call it a little ribbon inside of you, and they close your womb at a certain time. And it kind of hopes the hope is that you would carry full term or close to full term. And so
Okay.
I said, okay, let's try this. And she says, but she's not sure. She's not sure because it didn't showcase I have a womb that couldn't carry a baby, And so she's like, she don't want to put something in and then it's not gonna be, then it's not that. So she's just gonna let us just wait and see if we pass 18 weeks of the new pregnancy. And so we
Okay.
go through the same process again. We go through fertility. We fall pregnant again on the first try, and so at this point in time we are taking it really slow. We are on bed rest. We are easygoing. We're not doing any labor, nothing. And so
And
we
you
pass 18 weeks.
okay. And you did a reveal, right? Like you did a gender reveal.
Yes, we did a gender
Did
reveal
you do
a
that the
week
first
before.
time?
No, the first time we were literally a week away from
Ah.
finding out if it was a girl or a boy from the first
Okay.
one.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so the second one, we go through this journey. And so we at 18 weeks, we are excited because
Yeah.
we are past 18 weeks,
Right.
and so we are so happy. And your beautiful husband is so faithful with knowing the weeks and the days and checking in, like really. And we're
Yeah.
like, okay, we are past that. We are getting there,
Yeah.
and so we get to 18 weeks and we get to 19 weeks and we are doing a gender reveal, and it's a girl and we're so
It's a girl.
excited. We are so excited. And that night I'm laying on the bed and I just feel something weird and I said, the devil is a liar. I'm like, God, we are at 19 weeks. We're not doing this. And so we go into the hospital just to check that everything is okay. And they're like, no, everything is okay. Sometimes these things happen out of excitement, And I said, okay, and we're back home. And the following morning, we are back at the hospital. And at this point in time, they say, okay, Tamlyn, you have just contracted a very weird infection. You got to
Oh,
stay in the hospital for 2 weeks. And so they are prepping me again. Tamlin, can we go fetch the baby? And I'm like, no, I know the drill. I know if you fetch the baby, I'm losing the baby. And I'm like, I'm not losing another child. No,
oh,
no,
that's not.
God, this is not going to happen this time. And so I'm in the hospital for 2 weeks and I'm fighting and I'm praying and I'm believing God. And it's the week of the 21st week. And the doctors is like, okay, so this is now a serious conversation. This is me or the baby, or it's both of us.
Oh,
And I'm signing. And I'm like, I think I've done what I have to do for Jesus. I don't know what more I can handle. But I'm like, if you've given me this grace to carry this child, then I will go with. But you know what, God, you have to do what you said that you will do, because I'm not gonna understand a second time around. I'm not gonna,
oh,
understand how you're gonna do this. And so I'm laying in bed, and I'll never forget. Oh my goodness, the 23rd of September of 2020. I looked at the clock, it was midnight. And I remember Georgiana came, she asked me, do you have pain? And I said, no, I don't have pain. I am in so much pain. And I'm sitting and I'm laying there, and Steve came the night. And at 2 o'clock, I'm like, can't anymore. This pain is, it's getting to me, but I'm just gonna push through, because what I'm doing, I'm holding on,
yeah.
right? I'm holding on to this last little piece that I have.
Oh,
Even though in the depth of my heart, I know that today is probably the day that I'm gonna have to do this, but I am not gonna get out of this bed, because if I get up, I know I'm about to lose it. And so I lay and I keep going. And the nurse came at 3 o'clock and she said, like, your vitals are really bad. Are you okay? You're not complaining. And my pain level is past 15. But I'm
oh,
just keeping it. I'm keeping it together. You can see in my cheeks I am red. And she's like, Tamlin, you have so much pain. Like you should really say it's not good. And I'm just thinking in my mind, like, you have no idea what it is to go through a loss. I'm gonna have to carry this cross. I don't
yeah,
know what God is doing in this moment in time, but this is so painful. But I'm gonna have to go through it, and I'm gonna have to go through it for the sake of Him.
yeah.
And at 20 past 4, I couldn't anymore. At this point in time, I'm like, I'm blowing, and I'm like, let me get to the washroom. And I said, Jesus, please. I beg you. I don't know what I've done. And this is me walking to the washroom and asking God for forgiveness. If I've done anything, please let my children not pay the cost of my sins. And I'm thinking,
Mm,
what have I done in life that has been so wicked that I have to carry this, burden, this
yeah.
pain so much? Um, and I went to the washroom, and as I got up, I said to Steve, um call the nurse, like the baby's here. Like, if I open my legs, like the baby would be here. And
Wow.
he called the nurse, and when they came, I said, I'm just gonna open my legs, baby's gonna fall out. Like, they like, there's no way, Tamlin, the baby can come. She said, there's no way, you have a clutch in.
Oh,
There's no way
but
this
you know
baby
your
can come.
body. You know your body. You know what's happening.
Oh my goodness. In my mind, I'm just thinking, don't tell me there's no way.
No.
I know what I'm
Yeah.
feeling at the bottom. Here is legs here. I can feel it. There's like someone is moving. So I know this baby's alive. So as I open up my legs, the baby came. And that was about 20 to 5 the morning. And again, that deep cry that you have, because it's 21 weeks. They're not going to save this baby. They 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 don't have the equipment at that hospital to
Oh,
save the baby at 21 weeks, and all the complications that could be, in this baby's future. And so Steve is excited on one end, because Steve get to hold the baby, and the baby's still alive. And
wow.
I'm just thinking, like, are they really going to make this child die? And I said, you can't save this child. You are, like, these were my words, and God forgive me again. I said, you are murderous.
Oh,
If you're not able to save this child, you are a murderer. And the one nurse, she burst out crying,
Oh,
because at this point in time, they are
this is
hopeless.
real.
They have nothing. They don't know what words to say to me. And I am in so much deep grief that I cannot. And there was this older, nurse, and she came and she hugged me. And she's like, I know you don't mean that. But I can't in my full on mind. I just couldn't think for a moment. And when they probably knew that the baby was about to die, they asked me, Tamlin, would you please be so kind to keep the child? Because I didn't want to keep the child. I'm like, the baby's gonna die. Why am I keeping the child? She's gonna die. Like, you cannot save her. She's gonna die. And Steve's face on one side, one parent is in deep grief, one
Yeah,
parent is smiling, one parent
yeah.
is looking at from a different point of view and seeing, I'm seeing life. I'm not seeing life. I'm seeing death. I'm seeing that God, the first one take, like, there was no breath. This one, you've given me a taste of breath. Like, is this the end of our story? Is this the end of our marriage? Is this the end of where you have me? Did you bring me to Canada to take me through this pain? And when they gave me the baby, I looked at the baby gave me one smile, baby was gone. And I I
14
said
minutes, right?
I said literally, baby was alive for like 20 minutes, I said, oh my goodness, is that a smile? And within a second, it was gone. And
Mm.
I remember that day, as vividly as I can, the 24th of September 2020. It was a day, I think, when Steve picked up the phone, the first person he called was Bishop. The second person he called was my parents, and then the rest of of our friends that was, close by. And um, I I remember one of my friends said, she said, I just heard you scream, and I put the phone down because she knew, like,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
And all of that was so painful, not having your own parents with you,
yeah,
right? It's like,
yeah,
it's one thing. And I'm a daddy's daughter, and so not having my father present was just like, I was like, this is so, so hard. But I thank God for friends that became family, that has been,
yeah,
present alongside us in this deep grief.
yeah.
And my prayer and my request to God was, I am done trying now, Jesus. I am good.
Hey, Tamlin,
I
didn't you
Yes.
have to go to church again?
So I was in the hospital for,
Okay.
I think at least 2 days. And
Uh-huh.
then and then think we had the loss on, I can't remember the exact date the loss happened, but I
Oh,
think we
so we
asked Bishop.
were Bishop to preach.
Yes, we asked Bishop to preach the Sunday,
Yeah,
because I think it happened on the Thursday, and so I think
yeah,
I got
yeah,
home on the Saturday,
yeah.
and surely on Sunday morning I am right back in church.
Yes. 'Cause I'm like, what are you doing here?
I know. And you know what? For me, being back at church was to say thanks. It
Yeah,
was just to say, God, thank you.
yeah,
Because it was truly either myself or the baby or both of us.
yeah,
And it was, again, I don't know how you're doing this, God, but if someone is looking at my life, let
yes,
them not look at just
yes,
anything, but let they look at the faith that you have restored within me.
yeah.
I am not encouraging someone, if you've lost, anyone, to be in church tomorrow morning, but I'm encouraging
For
you
you,
to be.
that's what you had to do, and that's
That's
what
for
gave
me.
you strength. That's where
Yes.
that's where people, I think, we look, we don't know what we're supposed to do. What does it look
Right.
like? What is that? But you have to know, okay, this is what I need to do for me right now.
Right. Right. And recognizing that, being with my church family, was one of the biggest things for me. That was the biggest, support, help, prayers. These people as grief with us in their own way.
Yeah.
Um Georgiana was there the same time when Steve called, like, my parents were on the phone, and then having to, video call and show the baby to the family, and, preparing all of that. And never in my wildest dream again thought I would have to go through another funeral, and I'm
Okay,
just like,
that let's talk about that because that was October 31st, 2020.
yes.
And I my husband was asked to do that funeral. So
Yes.
we needed to go to that funeral of this precious little, and it was, what was her name?
Tomato
Tamara,
Charity.
Tamara Charity. And so we were
Yes.
there. Steve, from my perspective, Steve wrote a song. He sang a song at the funeral. You
Yes.
were there. My husband had to try to put an encouraging message together. Like, how do you do that? It was COVID,
Right.
so it was limited. There was, we would have
Yes.
had masks, I think, right? And
Yes.
just
Yes, we had.
everybody just on edge because of COVID, and then they're there,
Yeah.
and yeah, what do you do? But we were there as, and it was about hope. It was holding on to hope. it
Yes.
was it was believing, and it was
Yes.
it was a hard time, but a beautiful tribute. And then you sang, then there was the blessing song
Yes.
at the end. Every detail was so precious.
It was, if I think back at at the first funeral, the difference about the first one was that all the babies at that point in time over the year came together and they cremated them, right? So there was all these parents that were all grieving together.
Yeah,
But I remember, when we had to put the ashes into the gravesite, I
yeah,
remember feeling so weak, like I couldn't. I was just like, I can't believe that I'm doing this. It's your
yeah.
first baby, And as I came to the tombstone of where Elijah's name was, I remember someone gave me yellow roses, and I was like, I mean, for those that knows me, I don't like flowers, and so they gave me
And
yellow
I'm the
roses.
opposite.
I know. And so they gave me yellow roses, and I thought to myself, "Oh my goodness, this color! Like I would never keep this thing in the house." So I take the roses, and a few people ask me, "Oh, can they take?" Because maybe in their mind they're thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna put, people can put the flowers down at the gravesite." And I said, "Sure, you can
Oh,
take." And as I remember this picture like never before. As I lay down these roses, I thought about Mary at the cross of Jesus. And people probably around me thought I was really weeping for my son. But I was
mm.
really weeping and saying, God, I can't imagine what your mother has gone through. You have just given me a glimpse of like
Wow,
Tamlin. Can you imagine when Mary was standing, at
her
that
precious
cross?
son, yeah.
And I said, God, I don't know, but this cross, like Mary, I salute you because you have really given me the grace and the strength to to
Yeah,
persevere.
wow.
And I told today, if I think about it, when I get to, when we get to visit, him and the gravesite, and as a sign of just a memorial, when we go there, I always think of it. I always say, God, there's always something in bowing down when I come here and bring flowers or as a memory, and it is so different. And then Tamara's one was so much more intimate because
Yes.
there was an actual body there,
And
you
you
know?
had you had so you had made so many more relationships since then, like, because you
Yes.
had been in Calgary longer. There was, so the support, and you could almost let go a little bit more
Yes.
because you knew you would, you know, the love was there. And but anyway, yeah, wow.
Right. Yes, COVID really, really, it happened in a time of COVID, but I'm so thankful that we were able to gather.
Yes.
I know in many cultures, they don't believe in burying babies, that they don't believe in, in doing, these funeral things, and so I've had many friends that, would question me, why am I doing this? And I said, this is my way of grieving. Every
Oh, it's
culture
important.
is, it
Yeah.
is completely like different. But
Yeah.
for myself, I knew that, in order for me to close this chapter, I needed
Hmm.
to do what God had to do,
Yeah.
and so for me having to do that and planned it out, and really it looks so beautiful. It was honoring her life with me. It was
Yeah.
honoring, from where she was,
Yes.
from inception to, driven with me, to Bath
Yes.
for Lake Louise.
Yeah.
So all this was, so like these children have traveled in Calgary, in Canada,
Yes.
and so I'm thankful for what God has prepared me for. And so after the loss, I took a 15-week, you know, grieving time.
Right.
And I grieved. I grieved. I feel like this was like the whole 2 years coming into one,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
took my time really grieving. I didn't rush myself. And I think by the 8th week, I was like, okay, Tamlin, get over yourself. Okay, get up, And I'm like, I said, I'm going to do 15 weeks. And I'm like, no, I need to get back to work. I need to get myself back together.
Mm.
And I'm like, Jesus, I'm done. I'm so thankful. And I said to Steve, I said, I'm done. We won't try again. What God wants to do, He has to show up in His own way. We're not doing this. And so I'm going for my final, you know, clean out, make sure everything is good. And they said that the guy, they said to me, okay, Tamlin, so after this procedure that we are doing today, 99.9% people, fall pregnant. And in my mind, I'm just like, no, no. And she's like, are you sure you done? And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm really done. Like, don't ask me questions. I'm good. God
Oh,
bless you. And I'm going about my
God
business.
bless you. Just go.
And this is the end of November. Christmas time, for those that know me, I love gifts. I love going crazy for Christmas time. It's exciting, you know. And my mother in law was here at that time. And so we tried to make it really, really special. And I said, okay, if you believe in God with me for 2021, buy me baby clothes for Christmas. And no one is buying me baby clothes besides my beautiful husband. So Steve buys me all these beautiful clothes that I like. And when we are wrapping, and I'm just like, everybody's buying stuff for me, but no one is buying me the baby clothes. And so I open this one, and Steve had all these baby clothes, and I'm so excited because I'm like thinking in my mind, Tamlin, what are you doing? Like, didn't you say like a few weeks ago you just don't want no more children?
Yeah.
And but deep down again, your mouth is saying something, but God
Yeah.
sees your heart.
Yes.
He sees the desire of your heart. And so, I don't do anything. I just continue with life. On New Year's Eve, I'll never forget, we were worshiping and praying, and I asked the church, and I said, we're going to do a prophetic declaration tonight. I want you to stretch your hands towards my womb, and I'm believing God for a miracle, a supernatural miracle, that I will carry my children in 2021. And I will not, God will sustain His word. And I have over 60 people in this building that will believe with me
Right.
and for me. And we declare, we prophesy, we prayed, and we continue with our journey.
Right.
21 days of fasting is coming, in January of 2021. And we continue our fasting. And the last week of our fasting, we normally do, Holy Communion and unleavened bread. My Lord, I cannot take the smell of the unleavened bread in the house. I cannot eat the unleavened bread. And I'm just like, how is it when every time I have to eat this unleavened bread, I want to, like I need to run for the washroom. I'm just like, the devil is a liar. Like I'm being attacked left, right, and center. And as I'm continuing at the at the very end, I think it was the 28th of January, I went into my doctor's office and I said, I'm not feeling well. Something is funny. I don't have issues to breathe things. And she said, okay, have you gotten your monthly pills? I said, no, like this, nothing, like
But that
since the
was
last
nothing.
time,
You'd have it for
you
a
know.
year. You wouldn't have it. You would,
Yeah, I'm
right?
just
Yeah.
like, I'm good. And she said, okay, let's just do, a pregnancy test. But Tamlin, for you, we're not gonna do a normal one. We're just gonna do a blood work, and then we can confirm for sure if
Right.
something is going on. So they do a blood work, and I wait, and within an hour, she says to me, okay, lady. Well, I thought you were doing nothing. I thought you were no more children. Well, here's your little child. And I'm like, what? so
Look
so
at
I'm
Georgiana.
like,
She's commenting
I
on it.
know she's laughing because she knows
Georgiana
they
is a
all
dear,
knew. They
dear
were like,
friend.
what
Yeah.
is going on with
Yeah.
this lady in the house?
Yeah.
I couldn't stand the smells. I couldn't stand. I was so dramatic according to my people in the house. But if they understood where I was, they would. I can't wait for her to have children so we can see the whole transitioning moving. So, as she said that, she said, okay, Tamlin, so you do know we're gonna action this from day one.
Right.
And this is me. At that point in time, I was already 6 weeks pregnant. So which means at Christmas, I was really pregnant.
Wow. And
you
everybody,
know,
all the 60 people praying.
oh my goodness. And the testimony in this is I didn't take fertility medication. This was all God. Oh God, I keep that medication, in my cupboard as a testimony. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I know what God is doing, and that's something that I'm like, I can't explain to doctors. I know that he is the doctor of all doctors,
Mhm.
and so the moment that I find out I was pregnant, immediately I was on bed rest. Everything changed for me. A journey. I don't know how many people love Beatrice, but Lady D would go to the mall and tell me, Tamlin, this is how the mall looks.
I
This is
know.
how a bag look when you shop. Laying in bed, not knowing what to do, really having
Yeah.
to rest, was really, really hard. But God he had everything in place. And again, a secret prayer that I don't often share, is that the time that I found out I was pregnant, I said to the Lord, just get me to 24 weeks.
Yeah.
Just get me. Because that has been the constant, noise that I've been hearing. Tamlin, if you get to 24 weeks, we can do so much. And I'm like, God, I know that you can do,
Yeah.
greater things. And so I go through this journey and we put another cyclage in at 12 weeks, and I'm completely on bed rest. My work life is changing. Everything is different. I am not the greatest support right now in my house because fear is like wearing glasses. Every moment I feel something, I'm fearing. Every moment,
Ugh.
everything, when you lay down, you're thinking, did something happen? Are you feeling some pain? Or, like you constantly, every second, you can't even explain it. This part, I said someone asked me, I said, it doesn't matter how much faith you have. Fear was a very vivid thing in my life. For that past 24 weeks, it was an unstoppable demon. It was uncontrollable. I would pray. I would really ask God, Father, take this away. And the more I'm praying, I feel like the more, it's there. But I'm trying to keep myself together.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be strong. I'm trying to think, it's going to be okay. I'm trying to be like, okay, you know what? You can still do this. God is so faithful. I don't want to lay down, God. What do I do? How do I do things? And so at one point, I'm like, God, I can't anymore. Like, this is too much. And at 18 weeks, no, at 20 weeks, I got up one night. No, like at 5 o'clock the evening, I got up and I felt this pain and I thought to myself, did I just wet myself? And I got up and I see this gushing of blood. And I remember screaming, the blood of Jesus, I will not, this child affliction will not happen a third time. And I said to my husband, I said, call 911, like screaming, like I couldn't contain myself. And I'm standing with my legs closed because it feels like deja vu is just like everything is
Yes.
just like
Everything.
literally playing in front of me. And, thank God for medical help in Canada. Within less than 5 minutes, the paramedics are by the front door, helping and trying to calm me, asking me, Tamlin, do you know that your blood pressure is beyond? And I'm not hearing, I'm just, get me to the hospital.
Yeah.
I just need the help that I need. And as we got to the hospital, baby is fine. They don't know where the blood is coming from. The cyclage is holding. They're going to keep me in and just monitor me for a week. The bleeding is not stopping. They don't know where the bleeding is from. And so you must know the battlefield of this journey, carrying this little miracle inside of me. I know the enemy is going to fight me hard, but I'm
Yeah.
going to fight harder, and having really true people behind me praying. And I didn't share this pregnancy on social media. I didn't share this
Right.
pregnancy with even a lot of people.
Yeah.
My parents only found out, I think, when I was 18 weeks that I was actually pregnant. My mom kept asking me, why you, every time I called you, you were laying down. What's wrong with you? Are you pregnant? And I'm like, no. Who said that to you? Did you get a vision did you get a vision? Did you get a dream? Did you get a prophecy? She's like, Tamlin, I know you're pregnant. I'm like, oh, okay. So if you know I'm pregnant, okay, then congratulations now. We just, because we really wanted to be mindful of, like, sometimes, people share and you don't know the voices out
Yeah.
there. And so
Yeah.
we really wanted to protect this miracle.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I came home after 2 weeks in the hospital. We came home. Well, one day home, and I'm right back the following day, and another week and a half in the hospital. And at one night, I got up and I said to my husband as I lay down, I said, I think my water just broke. And that's at 23 weeks. And I said,
23.
Jesus. And God took me right back to January, get me to 24 weeks. And now this is me and God debating. Okay, if I ask you for 24 weeks, like you are God all by yourself, you
Yeah.
don't need me to change anything. So can you take me further?
Yeah.
Can you get me just further, please? And so the moment my water broke at 23 weeks, my pain really increased. And I remember that was a Thursday night, and prayer meeting happened, and we were laying in the emergency. They rushed me to the emergency hall, and they are praying. Prayer meeting is happening. Prayer meeting is next to me. Phone is on. We are praying. We are worshiping. And I said to Steve, okay, start playing my songs. Start playing. I believe that whatever God said, it will work out.
Yeah.
Play You Are Worthy of It All. Play that
Yeah.
God will not lie. Play all these songs. Like I'm like, Father, you will take me through this journey. I'm not gonna lose this child, and I'm not gonna have fear. And so when 12 o'clock hit at midnight, it was 24 weeks. They came at 1 o'clock, and they said, okay, we're gonna prepare, we're gonna look one more time and see, and they said your sarclage is still holding, but your bleeding isn't stopping. And your bleeding is intensive, is really becoming more, and we don't know where the bleeding is from. And so we at this point in time we are truly worried, right? At what point in time where does things go? And so
Yeah.
we rushed into emergency. They cut the sarclage, and the pain started. And so they rushed me in, and we had an emergency C-section on the 24th. Oh my goodness. What a journey. Our miracle Micah Israel was born on the 24th. And sorry, 27th of May. What am I saying?
Right.
24th.
27, but 24, the 24
20
weeks.
yes.
Yeah.
24 weeks. A
And you were
24
due
weeker.
in,
I was
actually,
due in September of 2021. Micah came in May. 24 weeker. Um, and 585 grams this little boy was carrying, and so beautiful. I didn't
just a
see
little
him.
bit more than a block of butter.
Yeah,
Like,
like, and
that
even though
400.
like it's really hard to actually comprehend that, because
Yeah.
when I'm looking at him, just laying there, and sometimes pictures doesn't that
Yeah.
it doesn't do like justice, right?
You should have
But
put a
keeping
piece of
Micah
butter
in your
beside him.
hand was like
Yeah.
little, like literally, like he just
Yeah.
fitting in here. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So seeing that little piece, and having like, it looks like, um like paper, like tape that they put over them to protect their skin. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, like, seeing that little boy kicking at that point in time, a very
Yeah.
big thing that Micah used to do when he was small, was raising his hands. And so whenever we would worship and sing in the room, he's raising his hands. So I said, God, you are gonna sustain this child. I don't know, and so I remember when we shared, with one of our cousins back home, and say, okay, Mike is a 24 weeker, you know, please keep Mike in prayer. He's journeying through that. Steve's cousin, she broke out crying, and I like, we were really concerned. We were like, is everything okay? And she said, you guys don't know what you have in Canada right now. Like, she lost the baby. They wouldn't fight for a baby in South Africa at 28 weeks.
Oh,
They wouldn't fight for a 28 weeker. And
wow.
yes, is shocked to hear that a 24 weeker
Week.
was fought for.
Wow.
And I just stood there, and I said, I don't have words, because her loss really affected me. And I was like, I don't want, us as family to go through this, and I said, this is so painful, but I couldn't imagine if we were back home, the
Right.
healthcare. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine the cost. I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine, what would have happened, because the amount of things. I remember asking the doctor, Micah's journey in the NICU was 5 months, right? going
5
through
minutes
so
in the
many
day.
things, having laser on his eyes, moments when doctors say to us, there's nothing that they can do anymore. Can they just take the machines off and let Micah just go? And I said, you cannot do that.
No.
Like, as long as Micah have breath, even if it's a little bit, and even if it's with support, when if God is taking Micah, then he will take Micah all by himself. We're not
Yeah.
gonna help in any way.
Yeah. Right.
We are gonna make sure that we are doing what we have to do from this side. And I know that God's gonna take care of Micah.
Yeah.
And so I remember, after we were wrapping up our time there, I asked the doctor, I said, can you tell me, how much, if I didn't have medical, support, if we didn't have any insurance, what would be the cost of Micah's stay? And he said to me, in all honesty, it would probably be over 2 million. Because all the nitty gritty things, the medication, every little things, they brought out machines that they haven't used in 15 to 20 years to work on Micah's lungs, because they've tried every single machine to work on this boy's lungs. And that was the most horrible machine I will never forget. It's the machine that shakes, and it looked like Micah had seizures, but he was just shaking. And I said, this machine has to go. This machine it's not working for us. It's giving me anxiety. I'm like, Jesus, send the right doctor that specializes in lungs, because Micah was born with premature lungs. Everything else of Micah was good, but his premature lungs and his eyes, because his eyes wasn't developed yet. And so he had to go through all of these things. But that 5 months was so painful,
Every day at the
crazy.
hospital, sometimes 2 or 3 times.
Every day. There
Yeah.
was a moment in time when it looked like we're definitely gonna lose Micah. We don't know which hour. We booked ourselves. I think my friend, I don't even know who, I can't remember, but we got into a hotel. We stayed as close to the
Yes.
hospital so that we could just be there every single half an hour,
Right.
because even though we weren't far from there, but we were too scared if we had to drive home and we got the news that we had to come back. So
Yeah.
we stayed so close by. And the fear, the uncertainty, the unknown,
Yeah.
God is going to come through. And when you see him grow, when you see him develop, when you see him change and do things, you're just like, I don't know. But if I look back, I know that God had a purpose in our life.
Yeah.
I know that there was a reason why we couldn't conceive in South Africa. God
Mhm.
knew that, that our destiny is here, and that
Yeah.
God will fulfill it in such a way. Our heart's desire is to be Canadians. Yes, our son is the first Canadian. And so I'm so
And who is he
thankful.
gonna sound like? Is he gonna sound like me, the auntie, or you?
I don't know. This one, I can't wait for all the words to come together. I can't wait for him, to really talk and let us hear those things. But I'm so thankful for the hope that we have in God. I am incredibly thankful, because when you think about, you know, the promises that God has in store for us, and that I cannot see, if I didn't have God on my side, how I would make it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I know that, there's many, we call them little friends. They have different journeys in the
Yeah.
NICU. I say,
Yeah.
being a parent in the NICU without Jesus, I don't know how you make it.
No.
I don't know. I walk in there with faith. I come out and I say, God, sometimes you have to walk out in tears, and sometimes you have to go right back and say, no, Jesus, there's still life. And
Yeah.
where there's life, there is hope. And so we continue to declare that over him. Micah is 19 months old. Micah is a
19 months
chatterbox.
old. And everybody like put a comment in the
Oh
chat so we get
my
the clap, the
goodness. If you
praise.
see this chatterbox, like, he can talk nonstop. He can talk nonstop. So
Is he already
excited. So
sleeping?
sometimes, hey,
Is he already gone to bed? Can he come on?
I can hear him for sure.
We need to
Steve,
see
if you're
him.
on the call, bring Micah on.
Yes, bring Micah on. And we've called him Miracle Micah, and that's just who he is. And
Yes.
he's even been able to have a little man bun.
Right. Everybody loved it. And so we cut his hair a few weeks ago,
Uh-huh.
just to, because I was like, okay, Michael, let me just see how you would look, And so he comes, and I asked the guy, I said, just do a little bit of his hair, not all the hair still. And
Right.
after he's done, I'm like, oh my goodness, Michael, you look like a boy.
You-
Because so many people mistake him for a girl. And I was
right.
like, no, he's not a girl. He's a
No,
boy. The devil is
he's
a
a boy.
liar.
Yeah.
So I am so excited. I'm just gonna wait and see if Steve
Micah
have.
Israel. Micah Israel.
Yes, our
Miracle Micah.
medical baby that I'm, so thankful, really. I know
Oh,
God has greater things, in store,
yeah.
and so much, I when I look at him, I look, as a little boy of hope. Come and say hello.
Okay, come
A
on.
little boy of hope. A boy that changed the world.
Yes.
A boy that
Oh.
made me a mama.
Hi, Micah. Look at his little
Say
hair.
hi. Say
Look
hi.
at Daddy. Look at Precious boy.
Yes. Say hi.
Oh,
Say
oh,
hi.
that's a beautiful
Yes. Say
hair
hello,
that he does. He
Ande.
looks like a
Say
little
hello to
man now.
everyone. Say
Hi, Andy.
hi. Say
Hi, your
hi.
daddy. Your
Say
daddy.
hi. Say hi. Past his bedtime, but so beautiful, so
So
thankful for this little
precious.
miracle. He's looking at the
585
earphones and probably wondering what's going on here.
Hi, Miracle Micah.
Yes. Say hello to Auntie. Can you blow Auntie a kissy? Can you blow a kissy, please? Mwah.
Ah! He's a
So thankful.
superstar.
So thankful.
Oh,
So if there's anyone on here that needs hope, I just want you to be encouraged.
yes.
God is faithful.
He's faithful.
God is so faithful and so thankful. And so everybody calls my child white. So I don't know where the whiteness is coming from. But I remember taking him to South Africa to meet my family. And they were like, where you coming with this white child? I know.
But he doesn't have like his hair. Look at his hair. He can grow it and it can be like an afro, like his. But he
I
looks like
know.
his dad, right?
I
That's one
think so.
thing that
Like
you
some
said.
people say he looks like me. I don't know.
Oh,
But I'm sure
totally.
he has my
Both.
mannerism for sure.
Yeah, both.
Very, very chatterbox, very friendly, nice,
Yes.
and don't want to go sleep. Well, fairly good to sleep actually, but I can't complain. And so he had a supernatural increase of appetite over the weekend, so he's eating everyone's food. So I'm thankful
Ooh,
to
good
God
job.
for doing so. Yeah, we have so many things, and he's
Yes.
learning to walk. He's learning to talk. We are so thankful to God that he's really a miracle, really a
It
miracle.
really is. We had
So
such a beautiful baby dedication, which
yes,
is like when you talked about earlier in the program how, Easter, all of the things you would do to celebrate. Well, this baby dedication was 2 hours. I got to wash his little feet and hands.
yes,
It was so precious. Look at him.
yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, you have to listen. Okay, we are
You're a
talking
little
here.
testimony. Micah, we thank you for
Yeah,
coming into this world.
testimony.
Little
Eh?
Canadian. You're a
Eh?
little Canadian.
Yes. Yes. Can you please can you please pray for us? Can you please pray? He's keeping his
Oh,
hands on his head. He knows how to pray. Lift up his He
hey.
lift up his hands. He's anointed. We say, we lift up our hands. We thank Jesus from the crown of our head to the sole
Yes.
of our feet. We
Thank
thank
you,
the Lord.
Jesus.
So he really knows everything he needs to know about Jesus. That's the most
Korababa.
important thing. And
Beautiful,
I'm so
beautiful.
yes.
Oh, it's such a beautiful story. And I know it's been such a journey and we walked with you and we're so thankful how God did it. And you know what? You really had to fight in that hospital. You had to fight against what the doctor said, against what everybody said and believed. You
Yes.
had to hold on to faith. And a
Amen.
mama knows what kind of faith is supposed to have.
Great.
It's like, no, this is what we're doing and we're believing. This
So true.
child will live.
Yes.
And there he is.
He
There he
will.
is.
He will. And I was saying to him, I said, Mike, I'm praying for your wife. I'm
Yes.
praying for your children.
Yes.
I'm praying for my grandchildren. Yes.
Yes.
We are praying that you will be a good boy.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
Say amen. Say amen.
What a beautiful, beautiful story. And we just want to thank you so much for being on here. Thank you for sharing your heart and your journey with us, because there are things in your journey that's what people need to hear. That's what they need to know. And every journey is different, but our God is the same and he has a plan. You're in Canada. All of those things were part of it. And some things you can't figure out. You just say, God, I trust you. I trust you. And that's what you do.
So true, so true. And
I
there were
love this
so many
haircut.
moments, you know.
Yeah.
I want people to remember it's not just the okay, Stevie, come get your son. It's not just now that when you're in that chaos, you don't see when you're in that grief, it's like you are so blinded in your own grief that you don't even see that God is preparing something,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
if people can just have the hope and be like a Ruth,
Yeah.
to truly hold on and be like, okay, God, this just take him, please. In that moment in time, Ruth didn't like realize that she would have a Boaz, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I would have a Micah, that I would
Yeah.
have more children to come one day.
Yeah.
It's like at that moment in time, you're just so confined in your grief.
Yeah.
And I thank God I never had an envy spirit for someone else, that had children. I would keep baby showers. I would be excited because I was just like, no, that's life. God is doing it, And so I believe in the depth of my heart, that sometimes the puzzle doesn't always make sense,
Yes.
and
There.
sometimes it's everywhere, and sometimes it's like, God, it's very blurry. The
Yeah.
tunnel looks really dark, but at least I know who is holding my hand.
Yeah.
And so even when it feels like I am alone, this is a lonely journey. This feels really hard, and I don't know how I'm gonna get through. I know that He's gonna pull me in and say, "Damlin, I got you.
Yeah.
Just don't keep your eyes off me.
Yeah.
Just keep your eyes on me. And when this all is over and you have turned the chapter, then you'll see what I truly had in store."
Yeah.
So I am so thankful, that God has crushed me. He has broken. He's really like break me in pieces that I can't even explain. I said that I don't know how much more I can be broken.
Um,
Um, but I believe that even in that crushing and most painful, journeys, that He has strengthened. He's given me a strength that I can't explain to anybody.
yeah. Yeah.
And so as long as I
We
live,
know it.
I
Yeah.
will serve Him.
And we know it and we see it. That's the beautiful thing. We see what your faith. We can see that and we can see Jesus on you because
Amen.
you are a living testimony. And
Amen.
so each and every person, whatever they're going through, it might not be, a loss, it might not be um to the degree. And yet, no matter the journey that we're on, when it's dark and we don't understand, it's
Right.
it's it's holding on. He's got you. He's got his reasons. He's got all of those. When the
Right.
puzzle, what did you say? The puzzle doesn't make sense?
The puzzle is sometimes blurry. It's
The
just
blurry, yeah. You don't
like,
know what is, and I love puzzles. I know you don't love
yes.
puzzles, but I love puzzles, and and each piece is going to be
Mhm.
put together. But at the end, when that puzzle's together, you're going to be like, okay, thank you, Lord, and you're going to be
Right.
glad that He was in charge and not us.
And that's something that I'm so thankful for. It's hard to trust people with your life, right? But to
Yeah,
trust the one that actually created you,
yeah,
to trust the one that knows you better than anybody else,
yeah,
that's the part where I have to say, God, that though you slay me, yet will I
yes,
trust you.
wow,
And so that's not many people's words. I know of a very dear friend that is stuck in grief, that don't want to love anymore. And so I keep on just being a reminder that there's hope.
yes,
There's hope if you just
yes,
shift and ask, what is God doing in this?
Yeah.
What can I bring out of this?
Yeah.
And I know God is doing so much things.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago I was saying to I was looking at Mike and I was saying, you know what? God did not bring you here just by mistake.
No.
He's allowed you to even open up my home.
Yes.
He's allowed me to see that he can do the impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Micah, you are showing who is like God.
Yeah.
You are showing that there is no one like God. So
Yeah.
my trust is going to be in you, and my trust is going to be that God will sustain me and do what he said that he will do.
Yeah.
And so I might not be the easiest person to work with, and I might not be the greatest person to always, laugh with, but I believe that, you know what? I know the God that I serve. I know that
Yes.
God will do what he said that he will do.
Yes.
And I just want someone to be like, if you find yourself in a space of hopelessness, get up.
Yeah.
Don't stay where you are. Get up, come on out. There's help. There is
Yeah.
help. There is help.
Yeah.
You just got to get up, and I'm thankful to God that He took me out of it as fast as He could. And I was ready to be released. I was, okay, God,
Yeah.
I've had my fair share of crying, and I will continue to cry for the rest of my life, but for this moment in time, change my perspective,
Yeah.
change who I am, and do only what you can do.
Yeah.
So thank you
Amen.
so much, AD, for having me for
Oh,
having me here
my
tonight.
pleasure. Thank you
Such
so
an
much. It's
honor.
just been such a blessing and for sharing your heart. And we will see you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay.
God
Thank you
bless
for
you.
Micah being our little surprise guest.
Yes.
That's perfect. I love that because people just need to see that. That's
Yes.
right. He's so beautiful. So beautiful. I love
Absolutely.
his haircut. Oh my goodness. He totally is a little boy.
No, with his little bushy hair, but yeah, they
Yeah.
look so cute.
So good. All right. Well,
Thank
I'll
you
let you
so much
go and
again.
thank you and get him to bed. He needs his little sleep.
Yes. God
Okay.
bless you
Take care.
all.
Okay.
Thank
Love
you so
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, there we go. And what a beautiful testimony. And if you've just tuned in, you know, everything was powerful. She shared her heart. You can watch from the beginning and just be able to see, she went through loss, and there was pain, and there was not understanding, there was, God, what's happening, and all of these questions. And so I want to encourage you today, wherever you're at, that God still has the plan. He still has a purpose for you, and he knows what he's doing, and we have to trust him in that. And we don't know the rest of the story. Now, I listened to Talman's story, and I knew the end. I knew the little Micah. And so some of you didn't know the end, and so you're wondering what's going to happen. What are you going to be doing? How does this end? Well, there he is at the end. And I remember seeing the pictures of him when he was so tiny, and they were going back and forth to the hospital, and um all that they went, we walked through it, and what an honor to walk through that and to believe with them, and to be able to hold Micah for the first time, give him a little kiss on the cheek, and see him grow. It is such a precious thing. And so wherever you're at, please be encouraged. Please know that God has a plan for you. Jeremiah 29:11 plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. And so, whatever you're going through, God has got you. And you don't know the rest of the story, and you don't know where all the pieces go, but trust Him. Keep on trusting Him. He's got you. So thank you so much for being a part of this show, and all everybody who's tuning in here. We had Australia, we have the Philippines, and you know, we have Chile, we have Bogota. So thank you so much for being a part of this. You can sew into this anointing at www.myeim.org. We are saving up and we've finished our Philippines trip. I believe I have a trip coming in the UK, hopefully. And so these are all things that I'm working towards. Thank you for being a part. Share this broadcast. If there's people that you know that have gone through loss, they're going through these different things, just share this. Say, hey, I want this to be an encouragement to you. and just to be able to encourage them in that time, because that's what it's about. So until next week, I will say farewell. Thank you so much. And there's going to be ways to give just on the next thing here. All right. Thanks so much. Take care. Bye bye.